Hello everyone, my name is Rhett Cameron with Prodim USA, and I'd like to thank you all for joining me again in Prodim's webinar series for the first time of 2023. In today's webinar, we'll be covering measuring and designing a curved boat deck using the Proliner decking package. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the questions and answers chat, and we'll address them during the presentation. You can also email us at info@prodimusa.com or give us a call, 772-465-4000. The Proliner decking package is a turnkey measuring solution and design solution for installers and fabricators of the marine decking. The decking package features the industry-leading Proliner 8X CS, tripod, backpack, batteries, leak pods, and special accessories like the IPT extensions that allow you to get to hard-to-reach places with ease. The decking package also comes equipped with a seat of the Prodim Factory Draw Advanced software that is used to complete the design process. The first step in producing a digital template of the existing deck is to divide your shape into several flat sections. Mark these dividing sections with a dividing line like a piece of tape, like you see here with the blue painter tape marked on the pictures above. Next, we can then begin to measure the first section, capturing the dividing line. Moving on to the next section, we can measure all of it and capture its dividing lines as well. And once again, for the third section, we can then begin to measure and capture both of its dividing lines of its adjacent pieces. Here we see the settings that should be used when digitizing a boat deck, just like the gunnel walls we'll be digitizing in the video next. The pen will be set to pointer, contour should be open, compensation none, projection multiple planes, plane definition first contour, and our last setting offset plane. Alright, here we have our boat with our gunnel walls that we'll be measuring for our video. And first step is to set the Proliner up in a stable position that will create a smooth workflow, allowing us to capture as many positions as possible from that position. Like we mentioned in the previous slide, we'll be using tape to section off each flat section of the gunnel. And here you see he's adding 2 additional pieces of tape to create reference points for alignments of the files in the Prodim Factory software once the measurement is complete. Once again, tape off the next flat section and add those reference points for our alignment in the Prodim Factory. You'll repeat this process all the way around the gunnel of the boat in order to section off each flat section, adding those reference points so that we can align each of these measurements together, making one flattened section containing all 6 measurements. Alright, now we're back to the Proliner where we can get started, grabbing our remote. One of our first steps we want to do to stay organized is to create a folder for each job. Once a folder has been created, you can then name the files that will be stored within that folder. The files should represent what you're measuring, such as piece 1, piece 2, and so forth. Once you've created that folder and file, you can then check your settings and get started. Alright, our first step is going to be to create a plane by taking 3 or more points on top of the surface in order to let the Proliner know what flat surface we're measuring for. Once that plane's been set, we can then proceed to measure the perimeter of the surface. Here's a cool trick. Using the remote as a target or a straight edge, you could take a point against the target when having a hard time reaching the side of the surface you're measuring. Even though at times the operator is taking points above or below the plane that was created, all of our points will be projected to the plane. Be sure to measure beyond your separation tape on each of your measurements. Once you've captured the perimeter, you can capture any additional information, such as cutouts, hinges, or cleats. Next, we want to take 2 points on our reference points, which we'll do in each of our measurements in order to align our measurements together in the Prodim Factory software. Alright, first measurement is complete. Back to the Proliner now. We can do some simple editing, such as deleting the plane and saving our measurement. We're now ready to measure the second flat surface labeled by our tape on the gunnel. Make sure to name the new file, for example, piece 1, piece 2, and piece 3. We can then get started using the same exact steps from the previous surface. We will start off creating a plane on top of the surface we're measuring for, using 3 or more points. After that, we'll proceed to measure the perimeter of the surface. Once again, measuring beyond our tape lines or our divided lines. Once you've captured the perimeter of the surface, you'll go back and capture your reference points. On this measurement, we'll have 4 reference points because we'll need them on both sides for the adjacent pieces of alignment. Once that measurement's complete, we can save the file and prepare to move the machine to set up for the next measurement. Using proper technique, we'll close the measuring head while moving the machine to the new position. And once our Proliner has been set into its new position, we can open the Proliner measuring head and check to see if we can capture all the points needed from this new position. Now that we've found the spot to get started from, we can repeat those steps from the first 2 surfaces, naming our third file, and setting our plane. Step 1, set the plane. Step 2, capture the perimeter of the surface. Step 3. Capture any additional information such as cleats, hinges, or cutouts. And our final step is to capture our reference points on both of our adjacent pieces. Our fifth step, back at the Proliner, we'll do our simple editing, save our file, and get ready to transfer that file off the machine. Using these techniques, you can capture the entire gunnel of the boat by breaking it into flat sections divided by our tape, measuring each section in its own file, and capturing reference points for alignment in the Prodim Factory software. Be sure to take pictures of your job so when you're back at the computer, you can reference anything that you don't remember from the job site. Using the Proliner's Bluetooth app or a USB thumb drive, you'll be able to transfer your files off of the Proliner, where you can then import them into your computer or into the Prodim Factory software. The final step is the design process in the Prodim Factory software, and here are the steps it will take to create a production-ready file. In this next slide, we'll see a video showing that procedure on how to add these pieces together into one drawing, how to offset and move our lines, and create our production pieces with a final design view. Alright, so our first step is to import our files and pictures into the Prodim Factory software, where we can then bring all of those measurements into one drawing. Here at the top of the screen, you'll see the tabs that divide each of our measurements, but we're going to be copying and pasting each of those into one drawing. Using tools such as our origin and reference, we will be able to align these pieces together based upon our divided lines and reference points. So now we've got two of our pieces into our main drawing. We'll proceed to use those same steps to bring in the rest of our pieces all into one drawing. Selecting the entire piece, we'll proceed to use the reference tool, find two common points of reference from the measurement, and align those two pieces together, all on one flat drawing. We'll continue this process for each surface until we have the entire gunnel wall measurement. So now we have all of our pieces all in one drawing. Using the reference tool, we aligned all of them together. where we can now zoom in where we have our points of overlap, where we measured beyond our dividing lines. We will delete the overlapped line sections and use a fillet tool in order to complete or combine those sections together. Alright, we'll repeat that process for each section where we have overlap from measuring beyond our dividing lines, and we'll use our fillet tool to create a smooth arc, allowing those sections to flow together nicely. Our fillet tool does allow you to drag the radius or type in the desired radius in order to create a smooth line segment. All of your tools are located on the left-hand side of the screen in the Prodim Factory software. We have drawing tools, which are the pencils located at the top. We have shape drawing tools, which are useful when finding how big of pieces we can make depending on the sizes of our sheets. We have text insert and graphic insert options, measuring tools, rotation tools, splitting tools, and the tool he's using right now, the fillet tool. Really awesome tool which we use a lot of the times to clean up these measurement files. The Prodim Factory software is very easy to use. All of this is being done with a mouse and keyboard. You can use the scroll button on your mouse to zoom in and out to the sections you're working on. Your keyboard has hot commands such as undo, redo, copy, and paste, which help speed up the work processes. Right, now we see the cleaned up product here where everything's been connected. At the top of the screen here, we can now give ourselves a nice design drawing tab, keeping our work order separated from the original information to our working information and now our designing information. Alright, using the contour selection tool, he selected that entire line, and using the offset tool, he's offsetting it based upon where the user was touching the pen. Sometimes we'll need to grow or shrink these lines in order to exceed past the non-skid or move in from the gunnel walls in order to create our spacing needed for installs. This tool will also be used again later when it comes to creating our pattern borders for our design. Once all offsets have been created, you can then proceed to use the fillet tool, arc drawing tools, and draw line tools to finish closing all of the geometry so that we can move on. The drag feature of the fillet tool is one of my favorite features. It makes simplifying or smoothing up these lines such an easy task. I Can't think of any other software in the market that lets you do that. Here we'll see a nice speeded up process, getting us all the way through to a nice clean file. We can now remove those alignment points. We no longer need those. They were very necessary when it came to aligning our shapes together. We'll now be able to split or draw seam points to separate our pieces. Our software automatically splits those lines where they touch, making it easy to go in and delete the sections that you don't need. With the fillet tool, you can either drag and select the radius you want by dragging it to the desired point, or type in the radius where you see it now saves that and puts a common radius on all corners. Offsetting our shape using the offset tool, doing the entire thing at one time. We can go back, select the old contour, delete it all out of there, leaving ourselves with a nice offsetted line segment. We can click and drag to adjust those sizes, or we can type in the desired size wanted. You can also click and drag and extend lines. Here we see them creating offsets for spacing between each piece, going an equal distance both ways from a centered line. And then using the fillet tool, we can go back and reconnect those lines again. Alright, once again, each one of those seams we'll use the offset tool to offset the center line both ways in order to create those seams. And then using the fillet tools and line extension tools, we can connect those lines back together. 2 more pieces to go. Alright, now that we've completed cleaning up the measurement lines, adding our seams and our placements, we'll go back, use our fillet tool to create some nice rounded corners, and create our final edge or perimeter lines for our production pieces. Starting to look really good. Alright, now that we're all cleaned up, we'll begin our pattern border process where we will select each piece and offset to create a pattern border. We'll then go back and delete the unnecessary lines from those offsets where they crossed ways, and then we'll use our fillet tools to smooth out the connections from both of those pattern borders, making a nice transition. Pattern borders always offset to the inside of the shape, unless it's a cutout where it offsets to the outside of the shape. Once again here, we'll clean up the unnecessary lines where they intersect or crossways. So for both of those pieces, they'll have 2 separate pattern border sections. On these next pieces, without cutouts or any cleats or hinges, we'll just have one nice big pattern border for our pattern to go with them. Same with the next 3 pieces. It does recognize the same offset you use, so if you're doing a common offset, you can really go through this nice and quickly, selecting each contour and offsetting them all to the inside by your mount. Alright, looks like we're selecting one line from each of those pattern borders. Using that shift tool on the keyboard, we can click them all at the same time and then come back up here and check off all these black boxes, and look how it selects every one of our pattern borders. Cool. We're going into the pattern selection tool where we can grab the pattern that we're using for this job. We can lay out those patterns, move them around all together in conjunction with one another, and see how that design would look on the boat that way. So once we find that pattern, the one that we're looking for, the final design view, we can try to line it up with points on the drawing. We can add marks for alignment. But once we find that final spot, we can confirm it right in place. That's looking really good. I like it. Awesome. Our 3D view starting to show the look of this design. I can start to see it from a top view or a perspective view where I can see how this is really going to look all together now. Right, we're selecting one line from each of our edge lines or perimeter lines from each of our production pieces here. Once again, we'll come back over here and check off these black boxes where they all appear on the contour layer listing. Using a profile tool, we're actually going to color or label these so that we understand the difference between these lines. The red now represents our perimeter or our edge line of our production piece. Once again, using those profile tools to label out any cutouts, giving ourselves a nice color coding and an understanding of what those actually are. Selecting each of our pattern layers here. We have a layer for each segment. Along with our pattern borders. Go ahead and label those lines with another profile, giving ourselves in our design view a nice look. You can use these colors to represent the final color that will be used. As we see on the left, we now have quite a few layers. Layers are very important because they help us stay organized. We like to keep things separated, such as the pattern borders, the edge perimeter, each pattern, and they also help things to make things easier to select or to grab while moving or designing different patterns. Alright, we've made a new drawing tab just containing the perimeter of the surface so that we can add in a material thickness as well. This is going to allow us to now start to create that 3D visual of the final product that we're working with here. Awesome. Now we can actually see the thickness of that material, the cutouts. The red line represents the color of the outline of the perimeter. Those black lines are our pattern within our shape. And we've even given that material a color representing this color. Looks really awesome. This feature is really great to be able to show your customer the final look that their boat's going to have before you cut anything. It's time where you have all of your drawings in a nice organized step in case you need to go back and change the pattern for any reason. And it even allows you to put in thicknesses for different thicknesses of materials to see how those would look or appear together. Alright, there's the end of that video. So here in this next slide, we have some projects that have been completed by some of our customers using the Proliner decking package. We love seeing the projects and hearing all about the success stories that come from your use of the Proliner. Feel free to send us in some pictures and videos of the projects you've completed with your Proliner. Once again, you can email those into info@prodimusa.com or feel free to contact any of our sales reps. Thank you for attending today's webinar and keep an eye out for our future webinar series. Please feel free to contact us for your tailored solutions. Until next time, thank you and have a great day.